For those of you that are working with Maya, I want to go through with you some of the steps that you would use to be able to apply a material to a polygon in Maya, and also to talk a little bit about texture. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to just make a shape. In this case, I'll make a sphere. Okay. And after you make your shape, we want to be able to see the surface, because that's what we're going to be working with here. Applying color and texture. On your keyboard, just type the number 6. And when you type that, let me just show you here, it turns on Smooth Shade All. You also though want to make where texturing is selected. And you can double check that here by clicking on, making sure this little checkerboard icon is selected up there. What the hardware texturing does is it allows you to see in a high quality rendering mode what any of your textures look like. And so that's why we want to make sure that that's selected. Okay, so let's get started here. We've got our shape, and now we want to work with this. Let's go ahead, and we're going to access what's called the Hypershade. To get to this, there's a couple of different ways, but I'm going to show you here through the menu. So I'm going up to Window, and then Rendering Editors, and on the right we can see Hypershade. Okay. Now when I'm looking at the Hypershade here, what we want to pay attention to first are these two areas on the right. Let me go ahead and move our little sphere over there a little bit there. Anytime we select a material, it's going to show in the Materials window. It's going to show us what we work with. The default for Maya, it automatically, whenever you smooth shade, it has to have something to put in there, some type of material, and so the default is the Lambert. And the shader just gives us enough volume to be able to see the three-dimensional space or shape that we're working with shading and highlight. And that's all it's doing. That's all Maya is giving you, is this basic default. So let's start to work with this a little bit. Let's look on the left side here, and you're going to see these gray spheres, and as I mouse over them, it says Maya Surface, Anisotropic, and here's Blend. See, these are all the Maya surfaces, the hair tube shader and so on. Blend is what we're going to work with here, and you can even see in the little icons the kind of highlight or the shininess or the specularity of the object that we're going to create. Blend's nice to work with, especially in a demo, because it's got a bit of a shinier, glossier quality to the surface. So I'm going to head and select Blend. Okay, and once I do that, you see it pops into the work area, because we're going to start to work with the blend. We're going to use this for coloring right now, and then we're going to attach a texture to it. But I want to show you a little bit more information about the blend and how you get into being able to color it and texture it. I've got the blend selected. Now I'm going to go to the upper right. So I'm moving my cursor around to help you see. In the upper right, I'll mouse over, and it's going to be this little icon here. We want to open up Attributes panel. Okay, and when we do, we see right away, well, yes, we're looking at the blend. We only have one selected. It's blend 1. And at this stage of the game, as you're moving forward, and you may have multiple pieces of a model that you're going to add material to and to texture and so forth, it's a very good idea to change the name. So here I'm going to just call it the sphere blend. Okay, and so anytime you're looking in the attribute editor and you need to go back to work with this particular material again, you will have that unique name for it. So let's look at some of the things that we can do here with this material once you've got it applied to our sphere. If you look below here, we've got common material attributes. And right now it's this sort of grayish tone. Again, this is the Maya default. If I click on this though, you see a whole menu comes up that I can start to assign color. So as I'm looking at it, I can pick the green or yellow, and I can make custom colors, and you're seeing it previewed over here in our workspace. Okay, the thing that we don't have yet is we haven't assigned it to our sphere. We're going to get to that next. I find it's a little easier if I have a color selected for you to be able to see how this works. Here's a nice rich red color. Okay, so we see it here on our material and in the work area. However, I haven't applied it to the sphere yet. Now I can highlight the sphere, and again it's not turning red. That's because we still have to apply the material to it. And the way that I'm going to do this is while it's selected, I'm going to hold down my middle key on my mouse and then just drag over top and release. So you can have a bunch of different little shapes. Maybe you have maybe you've got a model that you're creating that has shoes, clothing, hats, so on and so forth, and get a little sphere there. That's kind of cute. You want to be able to select the pieces of the model that you're going to be texturing. I have this selected. I can just go ahead and select my materials here. As I move my mouse over top, I'm going to click the middle key in the mouse and drag down, and you see I can start to apply this material and color to any of the objects in my model. Look at some of the other things here below in specular shading. Again, the specularity is the highlight that we're working with. Our color is gray. Now one of the things I like to do is pick a color that's basically within the same hue as I'm working with. So I've got a red ball with a reddish highlight. It just starts to work a little better. Now if you're working on painting of your model, you can really get very detailed with the way that you manipulate the blend or this material. Right now we've got a red color for the material. I've got a light reddish color for the highlight. Now I'm leaving it right now at the default for the blend, in other words how shiny it appears, but we can adjust that as well. I can increase or decrease how much we see of that highlight. I can adjust the roll off. I can adjust the eccentricity of it. So play with some of these toggles down here to start to get a better idea of how you want this material to look. So let's get rid of some of these guys here and go back to our one sphere that we had. Okay, and I'll leave the attribute editor still open. I want to just look at a very simple basic way that you start to apply a texture. So instead of working with the color, let's go back up here so we can see our color. If you look to the right, we see a little checkered box. So instead of keeping the color, now I want to apply a texture. So I'm going to click on the checkered box, and we see our textures come up here. These are in the Maya menu. You can upload your own textures, which you're going to want to definitely do. Let's try leather. Okay, so here we can see in the work area actually what it looks like. Over here we don't see that because we're not looking at a high resolution render. We're looking at a very simple preview. Anytime you're working with the higher end rendering of a Maya file, you can't really see your textures unless you look in a filter or you render the actual scene. So as I'm looking at this, I can actually change the colors of the texture. Okay, I can, on this one we've got this little crease here, we can make it much darker, much more intense. And again, watch this as I'm doing it. I can adjust the randomness of it so that it's becoming more patterned or more random, organic. The threshold is basically the contrast level. The threshold is just limiting how much color you're seeing from one end of the scale, light to dark. Okay, so those are the basic things that we wanted to look at here in this first little demo video for you. How to apply color and how to apply texture to a polygon.